Imagine, for a moment, that you weren't raised by humans. No lullabies, no kindergarten, no parents teaching you to say please or thank you. Instead, your earliest memories are of a den, the warm fur of a mother wolf, the scent of pine and damp earth. You howl at the moon, hunt small game, and communicate through growls and nudges. This isn't a fairy tale, it's a chilling reality for a handful of feral children discovered throughout history. But here's the unsettling question. If you spent your formative years as part of a wolf pack, could science, with all its understanding of the human brain, ever truly make you human again? The idea is fascinating, terrifying, and profoundly complex. It challenges our deepest assumptions about what it means to be human. Are we born with an innate blueprint for language, empathy, and abstract thought, simply waiting to be activated? Or are these traits entirely forged by our environment, shaped by the culture and relationships we're immersed in from birth? The answer, as we'll discover, lies at the intersection of neuroscience, psychology, and some truly heartbreaking historical accounts. Our journey begins with these rare, almost mythical cases. Children like Kamala and Amala, found in an Indian wolf den in the 1920s, or Victor of Aveyron, discovered in the French wilderness in 1799. These individuals weren't merely unsocialized. Their entire way of being was alien. They walked on all fours, ate raw meat, shunned human contact, and often possessed heightened senses of smell and hearing, adaptations to their wild upbringing. They embodied the chilling concept of a human animal. From a scientific perspective, these cases represent a natural, albeit tragic experiment. They offer a window into the critical periods of development. Think of critical periods like specific windows of opportunity in a child's early life, when the brain is uniquely primed to learn certain skills, like language acquisition or forming social bonds. If these windows close without the right input, the brain's architecture might be permanently altered, making later learning incredibly difficult, if not impossible. For language, this window is thought to be most open during the first few years of life, roughly from birth to puberty. During this time, the brain's neural pathways for processing sounds, forming words, and understanding grammar are rapidly developing, influenced by every conversation and every story. Without this constant linguistic bombardment, the brain simply doesn't build the necessary connections. It's not just about learning words, it's about learning to think in a structured, symbolic way. But language is only one piece of the puzzle. What about social cognition? Wolves, for instance, have complex social structures, but their communication relies heavily on body language, scent, and vocalizations very different from human speech. A child raised by wolves would learn these intricate signals, developing a sophisticated understanding of canine social cues, but entirely bypassing the nuances of human facial expressions, gestures, and spoken empathy. The brain, especially in childhood, is incredibly plastic, meaning it can adapt and rewire itself in response to experience. This plasticity is what allows us to learn and grow. However, this adaptability comes with a trade-off. While the brain is highly receptive during critical periods, once these windows close, certain abilities become much harder to acquire. It's like trying to build a bridge after the foundation has already set in concrete. The attempts to rehabilitate feral children have, historically, been heartbreakingly limited. Victor of Aveyron, for example, despite dedicated efforts by physician Jean-Marc Gaspard Attard, never fully acquired language beyond a few words and sounds. He learned to care for himself to some extent, but his deep-seated behaviors and lack of typical human social understanding persisted. He remained in many ways an outsider to human society. Modern neuroscience offers a more profound understanding of why this happens. Brain imaging studies have shown that in individuals who experience extreme deprivation during critical periods, certain brain regions, particularly those associated with language and complex social processing, can show reduced volume or altered connectivity. It's not just that they didn't learn, their brains literally developed differently. So, if you were raised by wolves, would science stand a chance? The initial answer is grim. Probably not completely. The profound lack of human interaction during those crucial early years means the brain simply wouldn't have built the necessary architecture for human language, abstract thought, and nuanced empathy. You might learn to mimic a few words, to perform basic tasks, but the fundamental structure of your mind, shaped by the pack, would likely remain dominant. Your sensory world would be incredibly rich in the ways of the wild. Every scent, every rustle, every shift in wind direction would carry meaning. But the human world, with its complex social contracts, its abstract concepts of time and morality, its endless stream of spoken and written symbols, would feel overwhelmingly alien, perhaps even painful. You would be a stranger in a strange land, your instincts geared for survival in a world that no longer exists around you. The fundamental capacity for human connection, for deep interpersonal bonds built on shared understanding and verbal communication, develops early. A wolf child would have formed powerful bonds within their pack, a sense of belonging and loyalty, forged through shared hunts and protection. But these bonds are primal, rooted in instinct and immediate physical presence, starkly different from the abstract, symbolic connections that define human relationships. However, this isn't the entire story. Recent breakthroughs in neuroscience and psychology, particularly our understanding of neuroplasticity, offer a glimmer of hope, though tempered with significant caveats. While critical periods are undeniably important, the brain retains some degree of plasticity throughout life, meaning it's always capable of learning and adapting, albeit at a much slower pace and with greater effort. Modern therapeutic approaches, unlike the harsher methods of the past, focus on building trust, creating a safe environment, and using multimodal communication, not just forcing language. They understand that psychological trauma, isolation, and sensory overload would be immense for a child suddenly thrust into human society. Rehabilitation would be less about making them human and more about gently guiding them to adapt to a new existence. The true challenge isn't just teaching a wolf child to speak or use a fork. It's about bridging two entirely different worlds, two fundamentally different ways of experiencing reality. It's about teaching them empathy for human suffering when their survival instincts were honed by the harsh realities of the wild. It's about explaining abstract concepts like forgiveness or injustice to a mind that understands the world through immediate action and consequence. Perhaps the most profound understanding comes from recognizing that these children weren't less than human. They were differently human. Their minds were simply optimized for a different environment. To impose our definition of humanity entirely upon them might be an act of cruelty rather than rehabilitation. The goal, then, might not be to erase their wolfness, but to help them integrate it, to find a place where both aspects of their identity can coexist. Could science, with its advanced understanding of brain development, epigenetics, and targeted therapies, cultivate the dormant human potential within? It's conceivable that with intense, loving, and highly specialized interventions from infancy, if such a child were found very young, some core human capacities might be developed. But the window of opportunity is critically narrow, and the earlier the intervention, the greater the chance of success. The tragic reality is that for feral children found later in life, the damage, or rather the alternative development, would be too extensive. The parts of the brain responsible for higher-order human functions, self-awareness, moral reasoning, complex problem-solving, would simply not have been wired in the way typical human brains are. They might exist, but in a primitive, inaccessible form. Even basic human motor skills, the precise grip, the upright posture, the ability to manipulate tools with fine dexterity, would require years of painstaking retraining. Your hands, adapted for digging and tearing, would struggle with a pen. Your legs, accustomed to a primal crouch, would ache in an upright gait. Every seemingly effortless human action would be a monumental effort. And what about the deep, nuanced emotional landscape of human beings? The capacity for shame, pride, irony, or the profound sorrow of loss as we experience it. These are learned, absorbed through countless interactions, reactions, and explanations from childhood. A wolf child's emotional spectrum would be equally rich, but fundamentally different, rooted in primal urges and pack dynamics, not abstract human concepts. Yet, Even in the most profound isolation, the human spirit, its innate drive for connection and meaning, often persists. There are accounts of feral children, even those with limited recovery, who showed flashes of intense affection or attempts at communication in their own unique ways. It suggests that while the brain might be shaped by experience, the core essence of being human, however defined, remains a powerful force. So, to return to our initial question, if you were raised by wolves, could science make you human again? The most honest answer is that it could help you adapt, learn some human behaviors, and perhaps even find a measure of peace in our world. But to completely erase the profound imprint of your wolf rearing, to rebuild a human mind from scratch after critical windows have closed, that remains beyond our current scientific reach. You would carry the wild within you, always, a unique blend of human and wolf, forever walking the line between two worlds, understanding both but belonging fully to neither. It's a humbling reminder that what makes us human isn't just our biology, but the intricate, fragile tapestry of social interaction, language, and shared culture that weaves our brains and minds into existence. What other fundamental aspects of humanity, then, might we take for granted, simply because they're always there?